Scoot up so I can see you. Hey everyone, and welcome back. My name is Tima, and today we're going to be getting into finding, hiring, and possibly firing a therapist. I myself am a therapist under clinical supervision, as well as a PhD candidate in conflict analysis and resolution. The purpose for this video, as well as future videos to come, is to create a space where we can discuss mental health, human behavior, neurology, the system that we live in, and of course, conflict analysis. For our topic today, finding, hiring, and possibly firing a therapist. There are a few steps within each phase that we're gonna go through. We'll be starting with the most important step, the money. You can utilize insurance as well as self-pay, and we'll also be covering what is called a sliding scale fee. Starting with insurance, I need you to get your insurance card out, turn it to the back, and look for the phone number that you see. Call that number and ask for in-network therapists. Let's role play this. Hi, I'm looking for in-network therapists. My zip code is, insert your zip code. Can you please email me an in-network list of mental health providers in my area? Insert your email. From there, you should receive within minutes a long list of in-network providers. Once you receive that list, it's time to call each of those phone numbers to ensure that they take your insurance. Let's say you have United Healthcare. They may accept United Healthcare in total, but if you have a specialized insurance, it's very important to make sure that they take that as well, because you don't want to go through this entire process and still end up having to pay out of pocket because they don't accept your specific insurance. That conversation may look a little bit like this. Hello, you are on my in-network mental health provider list. I have insert insurance here. I was wondering if you accepted my specific type of insurance. Would it be possible for me to send you my insurance information? At that point, it is now up to the mental health provider to figure out if they do accept the insurance that you have, the specific insurance that you have. If it is confirmed, we'll get into what is called the copay. The copay is whatever amount that is left over that the insurance does not cover. In some cases, your insurance may cover the sessions 100%, and in other cases, there may be a different level of coverage. Whatever is left over is what you will be paying either before or after session, and that will be paid out of pocket. If you don't have insurance, then you would be utilizing self-pay. That means that you would be handling the entire cost per session out of pocket. Therapists will often offer a low-cost option called a sliding scale fee. Sliding scale fees are dependent on the amount of money that you make. For the average person who is working, affording bills, possibly taking care of other people, this option can be incredibly helpful. You should ask your therapist if they offer a sliding scale fee. If the therapist does offer the sliding scale fee, you can provide your pay stubs, bank statements, whatever information that you have to prove the amount that you make. So now that we have the financial portion taken care of, either utilizing insurance, self-pay, as well as a sliding scale fee, you've now found a therapist that you can afford or that accepts your insurance. Now it's time to interview the therapist. At this point, you would request a free 15-minute consultation. It is essential that the mental health professional that you are possibly working with creates a space where you can truly decipher if it would be a good fit or not, and you shouldn't have to pay to do that. There are a few important questions that you should be asking. This is completely up to you, based on how you're feeling, what you're going through, how you want to feel, and the tools that you want to learn. How do I want my therapist and I to interact within sessions? This is all based on preference. Would you prefer a therapist who's more chill, relaxed, more conversational, or a therapist who has more of a structure, a specific plan for each session? Take some time to think about what would be the perfect balance between remaining in your safe comfort zone, but also being challenged in order to grow and develop. After considering those topics, you'll formulate a few questions to ask your therapist. The first question should focus on modalities. Is your therapist person-centered? Do they utilize CBT, ACT, DBT? We'll get into all those abbreviations in another video, don't worry. Once they tell you what modalities and approaches they use, feel free to research them after. See if it's a good fit. You could also ask if they provide homework, if they expect you to do specific activities outside of a session, if they utilize any workbooks that you would be required to purchase. And lastly, this is probably the most important question. Ask them how they establish a safe space. Therapy is one of the most vulnerable spaces that you can be in. You're expected to tell all of your business to a complete stranger and trust that they will, 1, keep it safe and protected, and 2, utilize the information as well as the evidence-based research that they have to help you find some sort of relief. If a therapist is not intentional on verbalizing to you how they will protect you, you already know what I'm going to say, they may not be the therapist for you. This is the time to advocate for yourself to ensure that the space the therapist is offering is exactly what you desire. As you know, everything you desire is exactly what you deserve. So let's say they answered all of the questions clearly and concise, and they align with your expectations, goals, and needs. This is where we start the therapy. You have the financial portion taken care of, you know that they're a perfect fit, and it's time to get deep into the process. So you've done the hard work, and everything is smooth sailing from here, right? That's not always the case. Over time, you might notice that you're not really growing in the way you expected. The content doesn't align with the goals and the needs that you previously discovered. We move into our next topic, possibly having to fire the therapist you have worked so hard to obtain. I will say there are a few steps that should come before completely cutting the therapist off. The therapeutic relationship is incredibly similar to all of the other relationships that we engage in our everyday life. Sometimes we get into friendships, romantic relationships, where we have observed and we've done the work to ensure that this person has our best interest at heart. And even then, we recognize that it may not be the best fit. The professional relationship within therapy can be the exact same. While it's incredibly inconvenient, this is the perfect opportunity to assert your boundaries and to communicate your needs. This can be a little scary for someone who may be avoidant of conflict, difficult conversations, and that's okay. So let's walk through what that conversation may look like. You could do this via text, over the phone, in person, whatever works for you. Okay, you ready? Hey therapist, I know that we have been going through this journey, and I truly appreciate the time and effort that has been put towards my growth and development. The approaches that are currently being taken, as well as the ones that have been taken in the past, don't quite align with what I intend for my future. You can give specific examples of the approaches that don't work for you. Let them know exactly what does work for you. And if you don't know, that's okay. You can also invite your therapist into the space of brainstorming what those goals and needs and approaches could look like. To close out the assertive boundary, it doesn't have to be a threat. It's just you explaining what will happen if the process does not go the way that you need. Let them know, if I feel as though I'm not receiving the appropriate tools, I would love for you to refer me out to another therapist. And again, I appreciate the approaches that you've taken, but they just don't align with my specific needs. You also have the option of closing sessions out completely. At that point, the therapist should be jumping for joy because you just modeled boundary assertion. As a therapist, if I were to ever be approached in this way, it would be a round of applause immediately, because now I know exactly what is needed to make sure that you are maintaining and achieving the goals that you desire. Let's say the therapist is receptive, they apply the tools, you do the brainstorming, and it's just still not working. Sometimes the vibe is just off. That is okay. There's no shame in this process. It's time to have the termination conversation. It may look a little bit something like this. Hello, therapist. Thank you for your time. I appreciate how receptive you've been towards the changes that I wanted applied. I will say that I still don't feel like I'm receiving tools that I can utilize outside of the session. I don't feel that safe space, and I don't feel as though I'm able to truly grow and develop within this therapeutic relationship. Could I please get referred to a different therapist? And or I would love to stop sessions. Would you please close me out of these sessions? I will say this process is one that can only be successful with patience. Keep in mind that the reason you're here, the trauma, the pain that you've endured, it didn't occur overnight. Therefore, the therapeutic process and healing takes quite a while. Before you have the termination conversation, ask yourself, am I allowing the therapeutic process to unfold naturally, or am I rushing? Let's say you had the boundary assertion conversation with your therapist in 1 week and then cut them off the next. That is problematic. I'll tell you why. You did not give your therapist enough time to adjust, to utilize, and to implement the tools that they have come up with. I say all of that to say this: give the process time and be patient. There are several factors that negatively contribute to patience, one being money, another being time. No one wants to waste either of those things. That's valid. But this is an investment. You are investing on your healing, your life, and your development as a whole. I can't tell you how much time to wait because that's up to you. Only you can answer how long that will take. If you believe that you have taken enough time and the process is still not working, have that conversation. Have the conversation and do what is best for you. Now we have covered how to find, hire, and possibly fire a therapist. As always, if you have any specific questions, feel free to email me, leave a comment below. And if you learned something from this content, you know what to do. I hope you're proud of yourself for finally taking that step into healing within a therapeutic sense. I do want to make it clear though, that therapy is not the only or the best way to heal. There are multiple approaches towards healing that I support as a therapist. You've done an incredible job. I'm proud of you. If no one has told you, I'm super proud of you. We're done with our therapy series, figuring out when it's time to get into therapy, as well as finding, hiring, and firing a therapist. Now we're going to get into our intentional inner work series. We'll be getting into self-worth, self-esteem, self-perception. As a person-centered therapist, I think it is essential that we first start with self. I'm a firm believer that unless you can love, respect, and honor yourself, you cannot perform any of those activities to anyone around you. Once you conquer self, you've conquered the world. So stay tuned for the next video. So that concludes our video for today. Thank you. Take care of yourself. Have a good one. Thank you for sitting through this incredibly long, monotonous. I'm not going to say it. I just won't use the word. Thank you.